However, we have to remember that the internal coolant system pipe structure has been through an earthquake, a tsunami, explosions, fallen debris, several fires, and has had thousands of tons of water that have been sprayed onto it, as well as water bombs dropped by the helicopters. If the internal coolant system did survive all this, it wouldn't be easy to reconnect the coolant to all 4 reactors. It would still take time. Realistically, looking at this, the spraying operation the other day was reduced from 9 tons to 7 tons on reactor 2, and the temperature shot up dramatically and resulted in them having to spray more than 9 ton of water on it just to bring the temperature back down again. So on Friday, TEPCO installed temporary water pumps outside all 4 reactor buildings with the aim of restoring the coolant function. Now, in order to store the coolant function, they have to be able to get inside of the reactors before they can even attempt to connect the temporary pumps to the internal coolant system. The coolant system itself that needs to be connected is inside of the reactor buildings. Due to the severity of the radiation levels, the engineers are unable to get inside of the reactor buildings just to inspect to see whether the piping is intact and capable of being rigged back up to cool the reactors and the spent fuel pools down. This isn't the only problem. Like I say, as of yet they don't know what state the piping system is within the reactor buildings. So judging by some of the images that I posted in a video yesterday, I would say the likelihood of the piping systems being intact is very slim. And the video you can see is in the video response section to this video. So to put this into perspective, the water that's flooding the turbine building of the number 2 reactor is 100,000 times more radioactive than would be found in the water of an operating nuclear reactor. It's 100,000 times more radioactive than it would be if it was safely housed inside a nuclear reactor, working at full capacity to produce nuclear power. This water isn't even inside a reactor building. The trench inspection tunnels themselves are emitting over 1,000 millisieverts an hour of radiation. And again, to put this into perspective, the vast majority of Americans will be exposed to a lifetime radiation dose below 100 millisieverts. So these things are emitting 1,000 millisieverts an hour, and the average American will receive a lifetime dose of 100 millisieverts. So the reason I've said over 1,000 millisieverts an hour is because the dosimeter, which is used to detect the radiation levels, is unable to calculate above the 1,000 mark. When it hits the 1,000 millisievert mark, that's it, it's maxed out. So this radioactive water is outside of any containment barriers and now leaking into the sea, as well as leaking into the groundwater. You know. So the main cooling system of all 4 reactors and the backing system is out of action. The coolant pumps are housed in the turbine buildings, and the backup system pumps are housed in the turbine buildings, which are immersed in radioactive water. In order to clear that water that way, they're trying to pump the residual water into the condensator, which is housed within each turbine building. However, the condensators of each reactor, the condensators of each reactor turbine building are already full of highly radioactive water. This water needs to be moved to the condensate storage tanks first, before they can even think of trying to remove the water from the turbine building floor. However, they have to remove the radioactive water from the condensate storage tanks before they can even begin to transfer the water from the condensates into the condensate storage tanks. So there's three things they've got to do before they can start removing that water. I mean, it's been reported that the radioactive water in all 4 trenches is continuing to rise, and TEPCO have confirmed that it's water from the reactors. The number 2 reactor core, definitely, that's what they've said, it's coming from the number 2 reactor core. So basically what's happened is all the safety and radiation containment measures have failed. This is what's happened. The radiation containment measures have failed. This is why you've got plutonium being detected. This is why you've got 20 megabecquerels of iodine and cesium being detected some 30 odd kilometers away by the by the International Atomic Energy Agency. This is why you've got ridiculously high radiation readings within the sea. This is why you've got high radiation readings in food, in milk, in beef. All the methods to contain the radiation have failed. The reactor containment has failed. Reactor number 2 is breached. The core of reactor number 2 is breached and leaking out deadly radioactive material. Now, I haven't even talked about the containment of the spent nuclear fuel pools, because there isn't any. You just got to look at reactor 3 and look at reactor 4. There is no containment. There is no radioactive containment for these reactors. It's gone. Every safety system that they had in place for these reactors has failed. Every single one. I'm not just making this stuff up. Every single safety feature has failed. Every single one. I mean, I went to the supermarket today, and I've been going for the last week, and even in the UK where I live, bottled water, it's hard to get a hold of, man. I think there's a few people thinking along the same lines as I'm thinking, and I'm not trying to exaggerate. How can you exaggerate the severity of this situation? It's impossible to exaggerate the severity of this situation. Now, if I don't come across as coherently as I should, I apologise, but I hope this information has been of use to somebody. Take care, bye.